Good evening and welcome to Newsnight on Metro TV, and we're also live on channel 277 on DSTV. Let's see the headlines for tonight. And tonight, some consumers still unable to purchase electricity credit after the ECG said they had fixed the vending challenges. Police begin investigations into the death of a 26-year-old nurse in the Hafuano North District of the Ashanti region. And on the international front, military captain Ibrahim Traore has held a parade in the capital, Ouagadougou, after claiming to have taken power from Burkina Faso's interim president, Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. Now let's begin the entire news now. And many Ghanaians are still facing challenges with the prepaid metering system across the country. In a press release on October 1, the Electricity Company of Ghana noted that consumers who were having challenges buying credits can now do so at the vending points. However, as at 11 a.m. on Sunday, some consumers are still complaining that they were unable to buy electricity credit. And many consumers earlier queued up at the various offices of the ECG in the central region in their quest to purchase credit for their prepaid meters. The customers say the network challenge experienced by the ECG has heavily affected them.
Some of these desperate and frustrated customers say they were in queue as early as 3 a.m. and continued to stay in the queue even amidst the rains. For several days now, the ECG has not been able to sell power to both residential and commercial customers. Customers say the impact on their businesses as well as their homes have been heavy. The ECG has announced that it has partly solved the network challenge it encountered. By that, customers can only purchase power from ECG offices only, thereby creating long queues at such offices across the country. Meanwhile, some customers say the credit they've bought are failing to reflect on their meters. Here are some customers speaking to Metro News.
The problem is that I've wasted a lot of time here, and time is money. I cannot waste my time too much to come back again and wait for another queue, because I'm paying service, I'm paying money. I'm not taking it for granted, I'm paying money for it. So what I want to do now is that when you go there, they don't want to listen to you. They are giving other people the chance to register, whilst others are standing in the rain. Others are joining long queue from morning to evening. So as for me, I need peace. This thing should not bring any chaos between Ghanaians and other people who have good mind for this nation. So if our leaders will try and work on ECG, they should try and work on it, because it is a hard thing that we are going through in this country.
Now the prepaid is too expensive. 10 days, what am I using in the house? I'm not using anything in the house. Only the lights and one fridge and television. 10 days, 50 Ghana, 10 days, 50 cities. If there is any for, they should let us know. Or it's too expensive. Otherwise, it's too expensive. They should see it for us, please. So right now, I'm coming to buy 110 to try that one too. Otherwise, the 110 will be about 20 days.
Light are something of the 5 good days. Amount for the Zoom. Me do me mo say a fee me manu munda me ankasa me dan tuntuma wi mi sa. Aba 3 o'clock. I'm at 3 o'clock. Ana me misala ana pawe ana me sorry.
It's too bad now. It's so bad. As you can see now, there's a rain coming too, and we are standing inside the rain. When the rain came now, that means we can't buy the prepaid again. Are you getting me? So they have to do any possible to start everything so that every.
Still on ECG, Metro TV sources say ECG system appears to have been compromised by external sources who are currently controlling the source codes and have refused to release them to the ECG. This is a result of the system crash that saw long queues at vending points and at ECG district offices. ECG has not made any statement about the said cyber attack, except a series of announcements informing the public about the technical challenge it was experiencing with the smooth operation of the prepaid system and an assurance to customers that it was working to rectify the anomaly. Metro TV understands the ECG has called for support to help resolve the problem and still working on it. Officials from National Security and the Cybersecurity Authority are working with the ECG to help restore the systems. The company is also undertaking a comprehensive audit of its system to find out what caused the technical failure. National Security and Cybersecurity Authority is supporting to determine what could have happened to the system and how to forestall a future occurrence. But officials are not ruling out a cyber attack. Maximus Ametogo is an IT specialist and has been speaking to Metro TV News.
It's an IT system, it's an IT setup, so it's possible it can be compromised, it can be hacked, it can be mismanaged, it can also be a malware that has been injected into the source code. So there are several things that could happen to it. The same metering system that is going, the software runs every amount that is on that you buy. So they do the computation, they do the calculations, the unit. So if it's compromised, it can affect all the meters that have been running, or the ones that we are yet to buy credit or are not even unable to buy credit. It's going to affect almost everyone. So that's what will happen. Not so hacking, people hack for different reasons. Either they are searching for a database of people, phone numbers, email addresses, and then full names and the rest. So some people just hack for the numbers, they hack to also manipulate the system, they hack to compromise the system, they hack to also use it as a source of ransom, so they request for an amount to be paid first before they release the platform. So it's cybercrime, so it has different shapes of reason.
Right.
It depends on how the system is set up and also the end objective of the hacker, so-called, and then the extent to which they want to also compromise the system. If somebody wants to hack your system to cause a problem or an irredeemable problem for the company, they will do that. They just inject the system, and then you cannot restore, you cannot repair, you cannot reverse. There are so many reasons. So it depends on how the system was even engineered in the first place. There was one time, I think the heartbeat, they call it the server vulnerability, that happened almost globally. It affected almost all the big tech giants and all that. Some, it took them hours, others it took them days. Some smaller companies, it took them weeks. So depending on how your setup is designed and how you also make sure you can troubleshoot. So the troubleshooting system too has to be done properly, so that if incidents like this can be resolved within a shorter possible time. So, normally they have what we call redundancy. So the same setup, you duplicate it, so that if one is compromised, you just pipe the correct connection to the next one, like that. But if you don't have redundancies to do that, it means that it will take you longer time to even restore your system or repair it or even redeem it. It may not even be redeemable.
Meanwhile, the Electricity Company of Ghana is expected to hold a media briefing tomorrow to address issues with the challenges at vending stations. The company says its managing director, Samuel Mahama, will speak about the system challenges and measures being taken to resolve them. In the meantime, the company says consumers can purchase credits. In other news tonight, residents of Akwesiase in the Ahafo North Municipality of the Shanti region were on Saturday, October 1, thrown into a state of shock as a 26-year-old nurse was allegedly killed by her supposed boyfriend. The Ahafo North Municipal Police Divisional Command has launched investigations into the alleged killing of the 26-year-old nurse. There is more in the following report.
Narrating the incident to Metro News at Akwesiase number 2, the owner of the house revealed that on the night of Friday, September 30, she heard an unusual noise in the room of the deceased, who was her tenant. She knocked on the door to find out what was going on, but only to be told by a male friend of the deceased that she was fine and asleep. The landlady then left to her room. However, in the morning, she did not see the deceased as she used to and went again and knocked on her door, but there was no response. She therefore went to the father of the deceased and asked him to come check on his daughter. The father of the deceased went with the landlady and knocked on her door, but there was no response, so he quickly went and reported to the police. The police, after breaking the door, found the lifeless body of the young woman, a 26-year-old nurse known as Alice, dead on her bed. After examining the body, the police took the body to the morgue for preservation and autopsy. The landlady has been narrating the incident to Metro News.
Na Alice frɛ dem wɔte madam way na mba be frɛ akɔ ade kodi asi dem na mso na bi epunti e ba no na me bɔ pun e bɔ mu no wo bi gye so wɔ dem na me se mpacho bi epun no wo se wada na monko na me se bi epun wo se wada monko na se me wo se wada yenkɔ dia yenkɔ da enti me so anɔpɛ no na me kɔ bɔ ga ni pun wɔ mfi mi na me kɔ frɛ ma bi se omra no bɔ ga ni pun mi bi a yankɔ bi a bɔ fu mi ti ma so bɔ pun wani so na kɔ frɛ me na tie he wo kɔ so oni fi enti wa na me ba sa madam police station ne ko ye case na be bi mi mo wapa sa ye tie dia me ha praga na ko bia ne makɔ wapa se Alice ni ku na me se no mo bi wɔ dem ya Friday sa wɔ dem wapa na mra wapa ba ba obi no se ne ba na wu de dem.
The two assembly members of Akwesiase number 1 and 2 urged the police to undertake thorough investigations into the incident and arrest the culprit.
But we na kwa dem asɛmnti na ija ntimi nkyiremu kɛse because we be ne dɔfo wɔ dem na kasakasa kɔso a nye da bia na obetimi abɔwura wɔ sɛ wo kwa kɔti nkyiremu ne ade so nti binyɛ sure sɛ fiafo no mu sɛ be kwa kɔ wie sa anka le sɛ nkɛ de besi we de da mema be pia nti de kɔ ba ya no ebi nsi da ya ha kwa de ntisa
mo de frɛ sɛ de ɛde asi wɔ ɛha so my edit to the by we na please for it ababudu hanma omo arapo e bodu I mean akwenya ura ono ko nam se oma rapo no nti oma ntwa nyara ansa na ya nyere amaya ahwe na moja demo.
And chiefs and residents of Mamfem, Amakum and Twansa in the Gomoa East District of the Central Region have expressed concern over the poor nature of roads leading to their communities. The rains have even made it more difficult to travel in these communities, raising the anger of the residents against authorities. They are demanding for an immediate attention to the road. Central Regional Correspondent Akwesiado has more in the following report.
Gomoa Mamfam, Amakum, and Twansa are all fast-growing indigenous communities in the Gomoa East District of the Central Region, but the residents living in these towns are challenged in terms of transportation. The road network that links these communities to other parts of the region is in a very poor state, and the situation worsens whenever it rains. After a downpour, some residents are completely cut off. Vehicles are damaged due to this. The most reliable but costly transportation option has become the reliance on motorbikes. Feeling neglected, these chiefs and residents of the area have to no longer pay property rate to the Gomoa East District Assembly until their road network sees an improvement. However, the chiefs and residents are mobilizing to put the road in good shape. The chief of Gomoa Amakum, Nana Kofi Asare, expressed worry over the seeming neglect by the DCE and MP for the area. He said it becomes mostly very difficult to easily transport the sick in times of emergency. The road is in a very poor state. It becomes difficult to transport the sick. We even rely on motorbikes to carry women who are in labor. We have begun working on it on our own. Some residents of the area also spoke to Metro News and narrated how challenging it is to move around in the area. They want authorities to intervene. We are really suffering on the road. We thought government would have given attention to this road after voting for them, but they've done nothing about it. We will plead with the government to come to our aid. This sand have been placed here by the chiefs, but they have not been able to spread them due to the rains. Our car broke down, so we couldn't go to work. The road is in a very poor state. We even doubted the authorities here. We've called on them several times, but there has been no response.
We're on Newsnight, and let's go back on our earlier story concerning the killing of a 26-year-old nurse at Akwesiase in the Ahafo North District in the Ashanti region. Joining us on Zoom now to talk about this issue is our correspondent in the Ashanti region, Abdul Basit. Abdul Basit, good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good evening.
Right, so what else have you picked up concerning the killing of this 26-year-old nurse?
Well, what I can say for now is that the suspect has still not been arrested because the police are still investigating to find out who exactly committed the act. Moreover, according to residents and the landlady of the deceased, he introduced a man to her as a fiancé who is a carpenter and has been usually coming to visit this lady in the same house. So that fateful Friday night, he heard unusual noise inside the room, like some people are struggling. So she wants to inquire what exactly is going on. Upon getting there, the man came out and told her the lady is fine and she's asleep. So the woman went back. Until the following morning, you know, every morning the lady comes out early to sweep and do some house chores. But that fateful Saturday morning, the lady did not come out. So she was wondering why. What has happened to this lady that is not here this morning? So she tried finding out in the room, and there was no one to respond. So she went to inform the father of the deceased, who then came and also tried to inquire. All attempts were not successful, though they decided to inform the police. When the police came, they broke into the room only to find the lifeless body of this 26-year-old nurse lying in a cold blood on her bed with some bruises around her neck, indicating that she was murdered. However, the man was nowhere to be found, so the police came and took the body away. And I tried speaking with the divisional commander. He told me that yes, indeed, they had the information. They confirmed that the lady has been killed, but they are still sourcing more information as to if the fiancé who did the act or probably someone else did it. So they are still investigating and will come out with their findings as early as possible. But the residents are also calling for justice for this innocent nurse. According to them, this lady is someone, she's very social to the residents, and everyone is very free with her. So they were surprised how come she was murdered in that bizarre circumstances. So they are calling for justice for this innocent nurse whose name was given as Alex at Akwesiase in the North municipality of the Ashanti region. That is the exact incident which happened. But as of now, the culprit has not been arrested. Police are still under investigation.
Right, but Abdul Basit, one more thing. You have told us the part of the police and also what the community is saying. But have you spoken to any member of the family, and what are they suspicious of?
Well, almost all the residents over here, the landlady, almost everybody in the house suspects the fiancé because he's the only male who usually comes to the room. And the incident did not occur outside the house, it was inside the room. And he was the only person who usually comes to the lady in the room. So the prime suspect, according to the resident, is the fiancé who happens to be a carpenter.
Right. Abdul Basit Al-Hassan, our Ashanti region correspondent, speaking to us about the suspected killing of a 26-year-old girl at Akusiase in the Ahafo North constituency of the Ashanti region. You're watching Newsnight on Metro TV. We'll return shortly with some more stories. Do stay. Right, welcome back, and let's go to the Eastern region, where some residents and drivers in Koforidua in the Eastern region capital are calling on the Municipal Assembly to fix their poor road network. Residents say the local authorities have not paid much attention to their bad road network. Especially, it makes life difficult when it rains. There's more in the following report.
Residents say the deep potholes and muddy nature of the inner roads impede free movement, especially at the central market and the Anglo town areas. The residents complain that authorities have neglected them and have called for the roads to be fixed.
New job in municipal Nankasapa Koforidua mem we have way and on a car beer Nam Suko station Efa Metro Mass Efa Haneko car beer Babasinko main station turning in Anamha also Shapino.
Some drivers plying these routes have also added their voices to the call on government to ensure the situation is salvaged.
When I check my name, before time, the Amaya can be about one day. I'm on your mind. Nintini, who can claim one, you are one, our banning to measure. I'm on the One day, Dawache. Oh my God, we are shocked, Papa, Tyson. If so bad, the same thing, more photos, the high argument, the Shabban said, Umbra, high energy.
Meanwhile, the assembly member for the Central Market electoral area, William Opoku, has stated through the Assembly's Development Planning Committee, several talks had gone on over the state of the roads in the area, and they have been assured the roads will be soon fixed.
Now, the Tennessee, quite with the Dimutuma Assembly for a very long time. My committee, I'm on a development planning. I'm recently a co-meeting, we decide head of the planning about the final. No, so my the contract. I'm the contractor. The one year anymore. So I'm a because since I'm a bar assembly 2011, my travel letters be brave. My travel the Akoma urban rules. I'm almost engineer
Now to the Central region. It has become a challenge for several children of school-going age to be enrolled in public schools within the Ewutu Senya East municipality of the Central region. Although the population of the city keeps rising, it has become quite a challenge for the setting up or building of additional infrastructure to accommodate pupils due to the unavailability of lands. It has therefore become the resolve of stakeholders to resort to the construction of high-rise buildings to arrest the situation. Central Regional Correspondent Akusado has more in the following report.
Accommodation has always been a challenge in the Ewutu Senya East municipality of the Central region, apart from the fact that several schools within the main Kaswa enclave resort to the shift system. It has become mostly impossible for several children to be enrolled in public schools. The situation is forcing parents to resort to private schools and rendering children whose parents cannot afford to take care of them wander on the streets. The situation, according to stakeholders, is as a result of the unavailability of lands to put up additional structure. To be able to deal with the situation, the construction of high-rise buildings have become a major source of relief. Commissioning a 2-story building which comes with 12 classrooms and office accommodation for staff, the Ewutu Senya East MP, who doubles as the Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mavis Hawakumsin, said this serves as a trailblazer for the construction of high-rise buildings for educational purposes henceforth. Meanwhile, she admonished parents and guardians to also effectively discharge their responsibilities to be able to promote the academic welfare of children within the municipality.
The land space is very small, and we also want to utilize every little land that we have in our community. Gone were the days where you always go and request for a very vast land to put up, a story building or a school building. But if we start putting up a high-rising building, we'll be able to economize our space of land. And that is the reason why we have done this. You see the land is very small, but we've been able to utilize it. If we still want to even have another building around it, we can have it. And so it's something I'm introducing in the constituency. This is not the only building we have. When you go to Presby, we also have another 12-unit classroom block. You go to Akwele Anglican School, it's also there.
On her part, Municipal Director of Education, Faustina Alimatu Brahma, lauding the initiative, also pledged the education unit support to instill discipline in pupils. She, however, expressed concern over nearness of the school to a highway and has therefore requested for measures to be put in place to ensure the safety of children.
The challenge is the road that we have just in front of the school. And we are going to educate the children on road safety issues. And then the school is also hemmed in between houses. So we need to instill a lot of discipline in the children to control
Now, the moderator of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana, Reverend Bliss Divine Agbeku, has condemned the booing of President Akufo-Addo by patrons of the Global Citizen Festival, but says it must serve as a caution to government that the populace is frustrated. Speaking at the 50th anniversary celebration of the Abekan Parish, he noted such incidents indicate imminent chaos in the country if steps are not taken to reduce the economic hardships on the citizenry.
The country witnessed several ritual killings, environmental destruction by illegal miners, amongst other insecurity issues, with the recent one being the booing of President Akufo-Addo by patrons at the Global Citizen Festival held in Accra. At the 50th anniversary celebration of the EP Church Ghana Abekan Parish, the moderator of the General Assembly, Reverend Dr. Bliss Divine Agbeku, said the action against the president must not be taken lightly.
Be on ground with the people. See what they are seeing, feel what they are feeling, and where they need be, explain issues to them. We all understand, know that things are difficult. Coming in, you may see things differently. When you get to the spot, things will also look different. We should be truthful to share thought. I thought it's like this. Now this is how I'm finding it. Let us together go along this line. Amos 3:3 says that two cannot walk a path together unless they agree. So we must always seek situations of agreement.
He said the EP Church Ghana will continue to ensure its members live exemplary life of peace and fear of God.
One thing that makes things work is good planning and God's blessings. If you plan well and you seek the face or the support of God, certainly you will do well. And this is how we run our church. We also follow the set order of our development, that wherever we are found, the church must eventually bring about education there if it is not there. So whatever the problem is for the community, the church tries to find solution.
On his part, former ambassador to China under the erstwhile Mahama administration, Horace Ni Ayi Ankra said government is losing the fight against illegal mining because it is unable to crack the whip against its officials involved.
I want a bold leader of this country to stop Galamsey, period. Review it, revisit it, and make sure that as a country, we use science and technology, something that the Chinese would have used to actually mine the money, because there's nothing wrong in mining new money. So what I'm saying is use science and technology to mine this money, use science and technology, reclaim the land, and use the land for anything agricultural, like planting of cassava, whatever it is. Because Sikano form, you need that money to grow your economy.
The occasion was designed to raise funds for the continuation of school blocks which began 2 years ago. Members could not hide their joy after 50 years of the church's existence.
And security analysts say Galamsey has the potential of dragging the nation into political and economic chaos in the near future if it is not checked. It is estimated to have cost the country about $2.2 billion in 2016 in uncollected tax alone, and an estimated $25 million to recover lands and water bodies destroyed by Galamsey in Ghana's western region alone.
Often recognized as one of Africa's best governed countries and a model of best practices in resource governance, Ghana has arguably been unable to manage its natural resources to produce broad-based developmental outcomes for its population. The recent trouble with illegal mining, commonly called Galamsey, a slang from gather them and sell, primarily exposes a failure of management over one of the country's main natural resource exports, gold. In fact, Galamsey has the potential of dragging the nation into political and economic chaos in the near future. The threat posed by major actors in Galamsey to national security can be assessed based on these perspectives. Crimes of all kinds are committed on illegal mining sites where the operators have illegal possession of weapons, use of and dealing in narcotics, armed robbery, among others. What is more frightening is that assorted illicit weapons widely circulate in mining areas across the country. Illegal Galamsey is a conduit for denying the state the necessary revenue that could otherwise accrue to the state from legal operations that are done under the same level of accountability and transparency. Funds from Galamsey can be laundered and used to sponsor politicians who would support the pursuit of a particular set of criminal activities in society. What is the guarantee that the Galamsey networks have not funded or attempted to fund a political party in Ghana since the Fourth Republic? Indeed, it will be scientifically incorrect for us to underrate the capacity to influence political activities in the country. If care is not taken, Galamsey's influence on politics and security would be Ghana's version of drug cartels' influence on some Caribbean and South American countries. In May 2019, Ghana is rumored to have recently overtaken South Africa as Africa's largest gold producer. Gold represents up to 49% of the country's export, contributing to $80.35 billion to Ghana's $59 billion GDP. Moreover, while the extent of Galamsey has been difficult to measure, it is estimated to have cost the country about $2.2 billion in 2016 in uncollected tax alone. It is reported to cost an estimated $250 million to recover lands and water bodies destroyed by Galamsey in Ghana's western region. The alleged return of illegal foreign miners after their repatriation and the recalcitrance of others to abandon the mine pit have raised concerns about the sustainability of the government's anti-illegal small-scale mining campaign. Traditional rulers are cited as the prime collaborators for releasing land to foreigners even for a pittance. Sometimes, the traditional leaders allegedly collect reclamation bonds or what is locally termed cover money from the foreigners, suggesting that they, the foreigners, have the liberty to leave after destroying the environment and that they, the chiefs, will do the reclamation, but the cover money always remains covered in the pockets of the chiefs, leaving the land degraded and depriving the communities of its benefit. Whatever the socioeconomic causes of the problem may be, Galamsey has defeated the spirit and purpose of PNDC Law 218, which sought to open up the mining sector to small-scale Ghanaian miners and legalize the operations under existing mining laws.
Newsnight will return shortly. Do stay with us. And in business tonight, National Pensions Regulatory Authority regulates both public and private schemes in Ghana. According to the Deputy CEO of the authority, David Tete Ame Abe, the nation's total pension asset stands at 40 billion cedis, with the private sector managing the lump sum.
Following the implementation of the Bediako Commission report, because the Kufuor government issued a white paper, and what they were trying to do was to improve upon the adequacy. Because the TUC were saying, this one is Kofi Okowu. They gave it all manner of names. Yes. But the white paper, if you read the white paper, the issue was to improve upon the income replacement when you are on retirement. Now, following the implementation, we have been able to accumulate about 40 billion as at the first quarter 2022. The total pension assets for all the 3 tiers stands at 40 billion. Interestingly, but I will explain. The private pension, that is the tier 2 and the tier 3, is in a ratio of about 1 to 3 to that of tier 1. So with the 40 billion, SNIT is managing about almost 12 billion, whereas the tier 2 and the tier 3 are having about 28 billion. And it is not because SNIT is a bad scheme. No. It's because we asked the tier 2 and the tier 3, we gave them a 10-year moratorium not to make payments. Whereas SNIT was paying about 2 billion to pensioners every year. So while SNIT was paying out, our tier 2 and the tier 3 schemes were in the accumulation space, because we couldn't have said that immediately people should start withdrawing. That is not a pension scheme. So during the reforms, we were able to say that those who were 50 years and above should still stay on the SNIT scheme, or they can opt to join the new scheme. But we were encouraging them to stay on the SNIT so that those below 50 will be on the new scheme. And you can imagine that they had about 10 years to retire. So the pension, the private ones, the tier 2 especially, the mandatory one, started doing systematic payment from 2020. And I can tell you that it has not destroyed the scheme. People are gradually withdrawing. And there was a fear that people would just go and take their money. Even with the tier 3, which was voluntary, and we also...
And the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Ghana Cocoa Board have raised concerns about the continuous sale of farmlands, especially cocoa plantations, to illegal miners. According to the Eastern Regional Minister, Seth Echampong, this has the potential to cut down the sector's contribution to the total revenue of the country.
Speaking to cocoa farmers at the climax of Cocoa Day celebrations at Suhum, the Eastern Regional Minister Seth Echampong said that the sale of cocoa farm lands to Galamseyers, if not checked, has a potential of collapsing the cocoa sector.
I would therefore wish to use this opportunity to call on our chiefs who are custodians of our lands, our gallant cocoa farmers and the cocoa farming communities to say no to the sale of our farmlands for cash to the detriment of our future and our livelihoods.
The board chairman of Cocoa Board, Mr. Peter McMahon, delivering his address, disclosed that the implementation of the much-awaited cocoa farmers' pension scheme will begin in October. He then called on cocoa farmers to desist from using children as laborers on cocoa farms.
Sabiano, I did a Maybe go far from when you sika bebree. No bagana ha. Go farmers on one bread. It's the Libyan come. And the media man is a young man. Obi a Juma dancing. The man and I'm a wait, and I'm not here and I'm Mr. Faso. Now Messica, Ampa, or Tamos went now painting.
This year's celebration coincided with Cocoa Boss' 75th anniversary, and Ochehene Amwetia Oforipenyi, who was the chairman at the event, called for realignment of interests and urged authorities to pay attention to the interests of the cocoa.
This is News Night and time for the sports news of the day. And in this segment tonight, CAF President Patrice Motsepe believes the 7th edition of the African Nations Championship, which will be hosted by Algeria, will be the best the continent has ever seen. Patrice Motsepe made this known during the group stage draw for next year's CHAN in Algiers.
The draw, which took place on Saturday evening in Algiers, revealed the groups of the Total Energies African Nations Championship, Algeria 2022. In Group A, host Algeria will lock horns with 2014 CHAN winners Libya, Ethiopia, and Mozambique. Group B features two-time champions Congo DR, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal. Group C includes defending champions Morocco, Sudan, Madagascar, and Ghana. Groups D and E are made up of 3 teams each and feature Mali, Angola, and Mauritania on one side, and Cameroon, Congo, and Niger on the other.
I think this CHAN competition that is going to be hosted next year in January will be the very best CHAN competition in the history of this competition. Part of our objective as CAF and as African football is to build towards an African nation being the champions of the world, an African nation winning the FIFA World Cup. And this country, Algeria, is one of the countries, and many others, that we absolutely have no doubt has that potential over time, and in fact has the potential now as well. So we think the competition that's going to, the CHAN next year, I've seen the infrastructure, I've seen the stadiums, I've seen the hotels. I'm very, very proud. I'm very excited. Every single competition of CAF must be world-class. And world-class means it must be staged in a country, in stadiums, in cities that are world-class. The prize money must be world-class because we also have to pay our players, pay our football administrators world-class salaries.
The African Nations Championship will take place from the 13th of January 2023 to 4th February 2023.
Well, the best derby here will say that. Let's do some entertainment news. And entertainment tonight, Ghanaian music sensation Black Sherif has announced October 6, 2022 as the release date for his debut studio album titled The Villain I Never Was.
According to his social media handles, Black Sherif wrote, "It took me everything to give life to this body. The one thing in my life that I gave everything up for. There's life in this body, and I hope it treats you good and speaks to you like I want it to. My debut album, The Villain I Never Was, available on all stores on October 6, 2022. The album is believed to be a 14-track album which features a number of top artists and different genres of music. Blacko, as is popularly called, has been one of the outstanding musicians in recent times from the country after bursting onto the scene some 2 years ago with the song First Sermon. He followed up with Second Sermon, and the remix featured Nigerian superstar Burna Boy. He recently released a new fan favorite titled Soja, which is doing massively well on digital stores. Black Sherif won 4 awards at the 3 Music Awards and others at the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards. He has currently been nominated for the Best International Flow at this year's BET Hip Hop Awards.
Oh, Soja, soldier, soldier, soldier. Stand and beat your chest. Did it come? Did it come? Did it come? No, make them catch you off guard.
Actually, what the sensation here is, and that's for entertainment, and international news is next.
Military Captain Ibrahim Traore has held a parade in the capital, Ouagadougou, after claiming to have taken power from Burkina Faso's interim president, Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. Supporters of Captain Ibrahim Traore have urged people to stop acts of violence and vandalism against France. In a television message, Captain Kiswensida Farouk Azaria Sogo, a member of the Junta claiming to have taken power, informed the population that the situation is under control and things are progressively returning to order. Voting is underway in the most divisive presidential election in Brazil's history, with left-wing former president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva squaring off against far-right leader Jair Bolsonaro. The front-runner Lula da Silva said he is running for president to get the country back to normal after 4 years under President Bolsonaro's rule. The final result is set to be declared today. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has admitted she should have laid the ground better for her mini-budget after it sparked days of market turmoil. She says she has learned from that, but was confident her tax-cutting package would boost economic growth. Truss added the decision to cut the top earner tax rate was a decision that the Chancellor made, and she revealed it was not discussed with the whole cabinet beforehand.
That's the news on Newsnight. I am Issa Moni.